that magic formula that will be acceptable to both sides of the aisle and other stakeholders in the Bangsamoro. I put my trust and confidence in the full support to the committee chair, Chairman Senator Francis Tol Tolentino, and the members of the committee in resolving these issues and coming up with a committee report at the soonest possible time. Once again, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Mig Subiri. Before we proceed, I'd like to acknowledge the physical presence of the Member of Parliament, Mr. Rasul Ismael, the Vice Chair of the Committee of Agriculture and Fisheries and Agrarian Reform of the BARM, as well as the arrival of several mayors from Sulu. I'd like to acknowledge the physical presence of Mayor Hermut Jikiri of Indanan, Mayor Ak Dahar Loong of Parang, Mayor Abdul Baki Ajibon of Omar, Mayor Kerhar Tan of Holo, Uzir, Mayor Nur Shamir Halun of Kalingalan, Mayor Mo Mustafa Burahan of Panglima Tahil. Good morning po sa inyo. Thank you for joining us today. We now ask Senator Amy Marcos, the Vice Chair of this committee, to have her opening statement, if any. Senator Marcos, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you very much for the recognition and invitation, and greetings to all my friends, my fellow members from my old league, the Governors League, my mayors. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's great to see you all here, and we are indeed taking up these very important bills by both Senator Pimentel and Senator Gordon. I am here more specifically as the chairman of the Electoral Reforms Committee, given that, in fact, this is an election we are postponing. Hence, I would first like to posit Article 17, Section 1, which clearly indicates that any amendment, revision, or repeal in organizing the election shall be made by law or by Congress. An election. Secondly, for the purposes of electoral reform and the committee that I lead, Section 40 of the BARM law says that there will be an electoral office in the BARM. This is part of the organic law, and an annual budget is required to be provided. Therefore, BARM, in fact, should be having its own electoral office. Thirdly, however, if we notice, the COMELEC continues to organize elections, given that the status of BARM is still under the control of the National COMELEC. As I understand it, organizationally, the BARM electoral office is effectively comparable to a regional office under the COMELEC. I am happy to be corrected, but that is my present understanding, that COMELEC will in fact take this on. If we are to abide, therefore, by both the organic law as well as COMELEC's jurisdiction, it would appear that the COMELEC's policy has been, upon orders of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, that we continue with all elections as close to their stipulated date as possible. We should be on schedule insofar as it is humanly possible. You will note that despite COVID and a number of postponements, the Palawan plebiscite, dividing the province into three, is about to be conducted in the next few days. Certainly, the COMELEC and the national government have not hesitated in the efforts to organize the national elections to be held in 2022, including the upgrading of the SK or youth voter list, as well as the continuous and aggressive registration of the OFW. As our chairman has observed, there have been 8 postponements, a long series in the history of BARM, and only one has actually been on time in 2008. To my mind, given the purpose of this law, which was to rectify the historical injustice politically, militarily, as well as economically, it is important that we conduct these elections at the soonest possible time. That is to say, that may not be 2022, but perhaps a compromise may be struck that even a few months or a year after the national election of 2022, we can address the issue of a BARM election. After all, the continued effort at decommissioning and normalization cannot be undertaken without full political legitimacy, without inclusive governance, and without a complete exercise of the voting rights of the Mindanao people. Certainly, this was the purpose of the bill, and it might be time to reconsider this. So I posit a compromise that if 2022 is indeed too soon, postponing and establishing a date for a regional election very closely thereafter may be may provide its own advantages so that we can all assist the transition committee so that we can focus on the normalization that has been stymied by the pandemic so that the unique and difficult circumstances in the area is specifically addressed. I thank you, Chairman Tolentino.
Thank you, Senator Marcos. Perhaps that's also a continuation of the vision of your brother who used to head this committee, if I'm not mistaken. But for the record, I'd like to impress upon our resource persons, the members of the BARM, those coming from the city, the government sector, our LGU colleagues, that any decision emanating from this committee will not be the decision of the committee chair. Before we decide as to the outcome of these twin measures, we will meet and vote. So that decision will be a decision of the committee. And the decision of the committee will be a collegial decision. And I just asked Senator Gatchalian if the chair is allowed to vote. Parliamentary procedure will dictate that the chairman only votes in case of a tie. So for the record, let me state the members of the Committee on Local Government. The Vice Chairman is Senator Amy Marcos, also the Chairman of the Committee on Electoral Reforms. The members are the following: Senator De La Rosa, who was here a while ago and will be returning, Senator Christopher Bongo, Senator Bong Revilla, Senator Win Gatchalian, who is physically present here with me, Senator Nancy Binay, Senator Cynthia Villar, Senator Panfilo Lacson, Senator Joel Villanueva, and one of the authors, Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel, Senator Francis Pangilinan, Senator Risa Ontiveros. Ex-officio members are the following: Senator Ralph Recto, the President pro tempore, Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri, the leader of Mindanao, Senator Franklin Drilon, the minority leader. Having stated the membership of the committee, I reiterate again that this will be a committee decision. We will be having a committee meeting and we will vote. And the outcome will be a collegial decision. May we now ask Senator Bongo if he's ready for his opening statement? Senator Go? Senator Richard Gordon, the other author of the measure, are you around virtually? He was about to log in. Kung wala pa, we'll just allow them to enter as they join us virtually. But we have a series of presentations that were asked of us. We have the Office of the Presidential Advisor for the peace process. Senator, Secretary Galvez is not around virtually because he has to fly to India to secure another bulk of vaccines coming from India's Serum Institute. So I think his office has a short presentation, and if his undersecretary is ready, we can proceed. OPAP, are you ready? Can you just identify yourself, the undersecretary? Cannot hear you. OPAP?
Good morning, sir.
Yes, I think you're alone inside your room. You can remove your face mask so you'll be more audible.
I have with me my other members of the panel.
Okay.
Therefore,
So that's protocol. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Identify yourself.
yes, sir. I am Undersecretary David Diciano, the GPH Implementing Panel Chair, and I'm representing Secretary Galvez on this particular Senate committee hearing. Your Honors, other participants of this committee hearing, good morning. I'll be reading a OPAP's position as regards to the extension of the PTA and the postponement of the election from 2022 to 2025. So here's the OPAP's position. Crisis has temporarily delayed and restricted the delivery of peace work in the grounds. The OPAP, as reflected in the statement of the Presidential Advisor on Reconciliation and Unity during the House Special Committee hearing on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity, sees that the call for extension of the transition period for the BARM is reasonable and necessary in order to provide ample time to lay down the foundation for transition. We recognize that as the country confronts the challenges brought about by the pandemic, government priorities have shifted and resources have been reallocated to more pressing priorities. As a result, the gargantuan task of the BARM and the BTA pursuant to their mandates in the ball is made even more difficult. The enactment of priority codes and organization of the bureaucracy and setting up of offices and other institutions in the BARM is lagged as the regional government's time, effort, and resources are diverted to handling the health crisis. As for the implementation of the normalization program, OPAP is steadfast in its goal of delivering all commitments in the signed agreements in accordance with the agreed timeline. As the signing of the exit agreement is expected to be done by 2022, the OPAP is planning and programming its deliverables in accordance with this schedule. OPAP is one with the BARM government in working for an efficient transition as an essential component in entrenching just and inclusive peace in the Bangsamoro. That is the OPAP position, sir. Thank you and good day.
Just stay put, Yusek, kasi baka mamaya marami pang tanong. Just stick around, we'll be asking some questions. We now recognize Secretary Lorenzana, if he's around. Secretary Del of the Department of National Defense. Vision from DND. Can you hear us?
Mr. Chair, we will be submitting our official position paper. For the
Can you identify yourself?
I'm attorney.
Dami kasi, pasensya na, I see a lot of personalities in a small screen and I can hardly recognize except for my colleagues who are familiar with me. So can you identify yourself?
Mr. Chair, I am Attorney R.J. Lim from the Department of National Defense, and we will be submitting our official position paper in writing to this committee.
Can we have that? Can we have that within a week? I think Secretary Lorenzana is the cabinet officer in charge for this region and is very well engaged and immersed in the issues involved. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
May we ask, I think Secretary Anyo is still not healthy to appear. The representative of the DILG, Undersecretary Flores, if you're around.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you,
very much.
recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and to the honorable members of the Senate Committee on Local Government. I thank as well the honorable chair and the other members for inviting us in this hearing for us to be able to represent the national government as well as the local government units in BARM, the governors and mayors, as well as the PTA. I attended the meeting in Davao last February 27, together with the honorable chair and Senator Subiri, and it was a great dialogue wherein the two groups have somewhat come up with a compromise agreement, and then after that dialogue, they had a series of consultations with their constituents and other political leaders in the area. And yesterday also I attended another dialogue with them. And the latest so far, yesterday was supposedly to sign a covenant on what we have agreed on last February 27, but it was held in abeyance pending the request for the manifestation of Governor Sakur to submit the respective legal opinion on whether it is proper and legal to reappoint members of the BTA, particularly the 39 members who were appointed by the president. So they will be submitting their legal opinion on Friday to the Department of National Defense, and from there, I guess there will be a good compromise, and whatever the agreement or whatever compromise they could agree on, then the department will support whatever is their decision. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for inviting us in this forum. Good morning.
Thank you, Yusek. Thank you also for your continuous participation. Before we recognize the Chief Minister of BARM, Alhaj Murad Ibrahim, I'd like to recognize again the arrival of the physical arrival of some of the mayors from Sulu, Mayor Hadar Hajiri of Logos. Thank you for coming, sir. Mayor Nixo Kadnedsar Tulawi of Talipao. Thank you for coming, sir. Mayor Alfrazer Abdu Rajak of Panamaw. Thank you for coming, sir. Former Mayor Hata Berto, and the following executive assistants from the Office of the Governor, Wilkinson Tan and Bejar Sahi Mari. Thank you for coming. May we now recognize the Chief Minister, Alhaj Murad Ibrahim. And before he starts, I'd like to remind the resource persons and those physically present, levity aside, the Senate, another committee of the Senate tackled a firecrackers bill, and that is meant to regulate the sale of firecrackers. So this committee will not be acting some fireworks, so to speak, because that firecrackers bill is lodged in another committee, not this committee. May we now recognize the Chief Minister, Chief Minister Murad of the BARM. Chief Minister, you're recognized for your presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Chief Minister, Rahul Balawag Ibrahim, is sending his regrets that he cannot join us either physically or virtually. But
So it's now Minister Iqbal.
yes, I'm reading the.
Thank you, sir.
The message of the Chief Minister. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Before I begin, let me extend my warmest salutations and gratitude to the Committee on Local Government and the Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation, headed by Senator Francis Tolentino and Senator Amy Marcos, respectively, to the respective committee secretariat, honorable members of this chamber, especially Senator Coco Pimentel, Senator Miguel Juvire, Senator Richard Gordon, Senator Vinny Gatchalian, and of course, to all those who are present here this morning, a peaceful day to all of you. Mr. Chair, the discussions on why we need to extend the transition period for the interim government is clear by now. Aside from the urgency to complete the normalization track of the peace process, there is a need to make use that the infant government fulfills its mandate to the people, and that can only be realized if we have completed setting up the new bureaucracy as mandated by Republic Act number 11054, otherwise known as the Bangsamoro Organic Law. We have also made it a point that extension of the Bangsamoro Transition Authority is not about keeping power, but to assure that there is also a proper transition for our comrades on the ground towards a productive civilian life. After all, Mr. Chair, the heart of this government is about providing hope to those who were scarred by the decades-long conflict in Mindanao and restarting their lives during this transition phase. Mr. Chair, Senate Bill numbers 2019 and 2025 manifest that urgency. In the same effect, I am optimistic that the collective wisdom of this august body will ultimately benefit the people of Mindanao and the Bangsamoro peace process. It is our shared responsibility to pass on a more peaceful region to the next generation and perhaps fulfill our homeland's potential in economy and productivity. Ladies and gentlemen, if we look at the checklist of our peace process, we barely check off significant deliverables to assure that the BARM stays true to what the law provides, and we cannot afford to lose this opportunity of building better lives for our people. With two priority codes done, two already in the parliament and two at the level of the regional cabinet, I am confident that we can deliver the end of our bargain specifically in the political track. However, Mr. Chair, that's just one side of the story, and today we get the opportunity to see why we truly need to manifest our shared vision in the Bangsamoro Organic Law. I look forward in a fruitful dialogue with all of you, and as always, for the Bangsamoro and for the pursuit of moral governance. Thank you very much, and wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Minister Iqbal. Just stick around because there might be some questions emanating from some of my colleagues. We now ask a statement coming from Governor Sakurtan, who's physically present, and I think we have received several. For the record, we have received several resolutions from the LGUs of the BARM relative to this issue, and the committee would like to take notice of resolutions coming from the Sangguniang Panlalawigan of the province of Tawi-Tawi, supporting the extension. We have a Sangguniang Panlalawigan resolution coming from, I think it's Lanao del Sur, also in support of the resolution of Senator Pimentel and League of Municipalities resolutions from Tawi-Tawi and an opposition coming from Cotabato City Mayor Cynthia Yan. Of course, we have the opposition coming from Governor Sakurtan. But before we give the floor to Governor Sakurtan, I'd like to virtually recognize the presence of Governor Nancy Katamko of North Cotabato, who's around. I think this is another issue because we have 63 barangays in limbo. They don't have a municipality. They are still barangays, so to speak. So we now recognize Governor Sakurtan. Assalamualaikum.
Maraming salamat, sir. Thank you very much, Chairman Senator Francis Tolentino, sir. Senator Gatchalian, thank you. And to the honorable members of this committee, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to be present. And we had prior meeting, sir. That informal meeting, it was attended by the chairman and the majority floor leader, Senator Mig Subiri, as well as Senator Rabato. And based on that request, that dialogue be conducted. We did had a dialogue with our brothers from the BARM, headed by the Chief Minister Murad Ibrahim, together with members of his team that was in Cotabato, where the Chairman Tolentino was also present, as well as Senator Mig Subiri, as well as the SND, the Senate Secretary.
I think, Governor, that was in Davao.
That was in Davao. I'm sorry. Also, Secretary Lorenzana and others. Secretary Abisado was also present. And of course, there were other secretaries and undersecretaries of the different departments, as well as Secretary Galvez himself. And we're very, very thankful that dialogues obtained between the two sides, although not exactly opposing, as during that meeting of ours, we started to try to meet perhaps halfway. And of course, there were proposals coming from us to conduct the elections, considering that it is so provided in the Organic Act. And referring to the postponements of past elections in the ARM, according to our lawyers, in the ARM postponements, it was not so provided in the Organic Act, the setting of the elections. It was not so provided, so it was that easy, perhaps, to just change the dates or move the dates of the elections. Unlike in this BARM organic law, it is so provided that the term
would be 3 years and the elections would be synchronized and that it is going to be in 2022. And this was submitted to the people in the plebiscite. And last night, there was supposed to be a covenant signing supporting the extension, but I suggested to the presiding Secretary Lorenzana that we should not sign first, but look into the legalities and the orderliness of the matter of signing covenants and proceeding with the postponement of the elections. So I suggested that we submit legal opinions so that perhaps this can help. This can help us look into it so as not to, we do not want to cause any embarrassment, especially to the, of course, the institutions like the Congress of the Philippines, as well as the President himself, as while there were proposals like we conduct the elections, we argued that the elections of the new members of parliament would be far better than just proceeding with a transitory authority. A transitory authority to us is not actually the parliament. So it is a transitioning to the parliament. And the parliament can, of course, continue whatever mandate is given to the transitory authority. So, in which case, to us, it would be more legitimate and very regular, and as well as consistent with the provisions of the law and our commitment to the people by doing the plebiscite or conducting the plebiscite, that in 3 years, the people will be given that right of suffrage, which rightfully belongs to them. So, I would think that maybe there could be, interested people, so many intelligent people here in the Philippines who may question the orderliness or the legality of moving the date of the election from what is so provided in the organic law. Although we agreed that we are going to support the candidacy of Chairman Murad, that being the commitment of the to allow them to govern as a part of the compromise. But then we thought that that would be far easier for us and would regularize and the parliament, the first parliament. Because at the moment, they are governing not as a parliament. In fact, it was so mentioned by the Honorable Senator Nene Pimentel that we are transitioning to towards the first parliament. So that is our argument, Mr. Chairman, sir. Now, there was that counter proposal that out of the 80 members of, would be members of the parliament or members now of the BTA, 41 of which, the majority, so provided also by, I think part of the agreement is, should be members of the MILF, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. And 39 of which should come from the Philippine government. And that was offered to us or to the local government units for them to recommend to the office of the president. But the thing there is, we also have doubts if these members of the BTA can just be removed and replaced, or do they have to resign? Or although some say that since the appointing authority is the office of the president or the president himself, but there are offices like the Commission on Elections, of which the term is fixed and can only be removed for cause. So that is why we are looking at this for purposes of, I think, a greater harmony between the two parties. So, but either way, we are saying that we will support Chief Minister Murad. With elections, we will support Chairman Murad. Without the elections or extending or postponing the elections, we will also support Chairman Murad. Of course, with the proposed offer of including the 39 members of the BTA. So yun po ang in-offer, as well as some members of cabinet. Actually, they were already discussing offers of members of the cabinet to the different provinces. But I suggested that why don't we wait first until we shall have submitted